guys, welcome to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome to another review show, Premier Division. We only had 3 matches this week, but we can get into some of them with a bit of depth. And it finished, Philip, first of all, finished Drogheda United 1, Waterford FC 2. John Martin and Quintero with the goals. Highland equalising for Drogheda. Wordsworth sent off in the last minute. We'll get on to that in a second. But this was a fantastic result, wasn't it, for Waterford? It moves them above Finn Harps in the table. Drogheda now 1 win and 8, so they're having a few problems, despite being 5th in the league, so they're doing quite well. What do you think of this one, Philip?
Yeah, look, I suppose it was a good game to look back on, to be honest with you. I didn't watch it live, but I went back and looked back on it, and there was a good amount of chances in the game for what I thought was going to be a very cagey affair. It didn't seem to be. Some really good football throughout the course of the game, and there was spells in the game where it was a bit quiet and sloppy as well. But overall, I have to say it was a good game to look back at. Look, I suppose, Keith, there's a couple of big talking points in the game, but I'm going to chat to you quickly about Drogheda, because I have to say they seem to be through a bit of a rut at the minute, don't they? You know, they've lost a handful of games now in the past couple of weeks, so I just like, it's great that they've had the season they've had up to the point where we're at now, because like that sort of form, losing against Waterford, I know they're Waterford on the up at the minute, but do you know what I mean? If you're going through those kind of results early days and early doors, you're in trouble. You know what I mean? Like, if you're losing to the likes of Waterford, but they've had a really good season, so they're going to be fine. And you know, I suppose, look at Waterford on the other side, the flip side of the coin. They're above Finn Harps now, and I think we all agreed on this a few weeks back, Keith, that was going to happen. Do you know what I mean? What they brought in, they just look a completely different team to the start of the season, and I think the fact they've got some more bodies in now in the past couple of days is even just going to make more of a difference towards the end of the season, you know. And I look around them, I look above the table, and to be honest with you, I can definitely see them going up another couple of paces. Obviously, there's a few points in the difference now, but if they were to keep this run going, I don't see why they couldn't, you know, catch 7th and 8th. Like, you know what I mean? Look, it'd have to be a miraculous run, and they'd have to win a lot of games, but I just think that they're good enough. You know what I mean? With the additions that they've brought in, they've got a good bit of experience now with the older lads that have come in. Although the 3 or 4 maybe with wealths of experience. But yeah, so like Waterford have got in like the players that have brought in the experience, but also you can see the quality is there as well. You know, and I think that's obviously going to do them in good stead. And yeah, good result. It's a good result to go and get 3 points up in United Park, and they'll be just looking forward to next week now. But obviously, there's a couple of big talking points in the game that we're going to chat about.
Daz, we'll get on to Mark Bertram first of all, and what a job he's done. I mean, a few weeks ago, I suppose people were talking about Waterford and Longford, who was going to finish 10th. No chance Waterford finished 10th now, wherever they finish, 8th, 9th, 7th, whatever. But Bertram has really turned it around there, hasn't he?
Look, he's come in and he's done an absolute smashing job. I think he's done a lot better than a lot of people probably would have predicted. I would have predicted, Waterford when he came in to maybe be intense, but just be floating around there and be kind of someone who kind of winning this week, losing 3, winning the next week, losing another 2, drawing. I thought they were going to kind of go like that. And look, I think as well as that, he needs to, we need to look at it like this. He has been able to bring in players. He has been able to bring in experience, something that they didn't have. And the likes of other things that was going wrong in the club has kind of stopped a little bit. Like Murphy's back in goals, and players are back training again. They're back playing again, and they've got a lot more depth in their squad and a lot more players to pick from.
But does he deserve credit for that, Daz, for actually going and pinpointing your Nolans and your Wordsworths and these experienced players themselves?
Oh, 100%. If he was the one who brought in these players, backed these and picked them, and they're on his head that who he brought in, he has to get so much credit for them. He picked the right players for the right club under his own budget that he was set out to do. He brought an experience with a mix of youth. He brought in a few players that we don't know too much about that are performing well for Waterford. They're playing games, they're starting to win games, they're picking up points, and they're hard to beat. He turned the ship around completely to what it was. Waterford were losing nearly every game. They were someone you'd look at saying, right, we'll get 3 points against these this week. No disrespect to Waterford back then, but he certainly turned them around. He deserves absolutely full credit for it. He brought the players in. He has them playing well again.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the talking point, I'm going to get on to the Wordsworth red card, because he got sent off, of course, for second yellow against Athlone the previous week. We all saw what he was booked for. Ridiculous. The Waterford player literally kept the ball in. Wordsworth clearly went to pass it to a teammate. That's not kicking the ball away. Anyone who hasn't seen it, go on to Twitter and go on to Wordsworth's Twitter account. And he tweeted about it. So this week, obviously, he could play because for that game, he's suspended from the Cup. Last minute against Drogheda, allegedly gave the referee guff. He tweeted about that as well and said he was literally talking to his own teammate. Gets sent off for that. I'm not going to name names or anything, but I've been hearing from the Drogheda camp that he wasn't giving the referee guff either. So that probably says it all as well. If all that's true, and seemingly it is true, what in the name of Christ is going on there, Philip?
Oh, Keith, I don't know. It's, to be honest with you, I can't stand the referees in this league. Like I really can't, and it just shows what, like, the professionalism, like, was just shocking. Like, do you know what I mean? Look, obviously we're not in the situation and we're not standing on the as it's happening. And like, if the opposition turn around and say he did not say anything to the referee, like, you're kind of saying to yourself, what in the name of Jesus is he at? Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
it sounds like they're getting at him for last week. I'm just saying,
yeah,
I'm not saying that's fact, but I'm saying it sounds like that, and it appears to be as such.
It's like when you're playing in a match and someone, another player off another team injures a player on your team deliberately, and you're like, I'll get that fecker back. Like, don't you worry, I'll get him. And then you go in and do one on him. Do you know what I mean? That's what it is like from the referee's point of view. But like, I just think it's pathetic, and I just think that the whole refereeing thing in this country at the moment has been a farce week in, week out. There's poor calls every week. There's no training for them. The training that they do is very limited. Do you know what I mean? And I think it just leads to the lack of professionalism that we've seen on show here. Do you know what I mean? Like, the lad's in the wall, does nothing, is talking to his teammate, as he says. People sometimes just have a grudge, and referees have grudges, and they hold them. And look, I know it's a week later. You'd think they'd let it sit for a couple of weeks and then they'll, when the kind
different
of
referee as well, funnily enough, Philip.
Yeah, no, that's it. But they're all mates in the when it comes to that, Keith. You know what I mean? Because, like, at the end of the day, like, it's a small league when it comes to refereeing and officials, and they tend to be with each other most weeks, like at least once or twice, if not 3 times a week. So, like, don't get it wrong, they're like a team as well, if you know what I mean. So I'm really disappointed in it, but I suppose I am actually a bit surprised, because although I can accept the poor officiating when it comes to the standard of refereeing in the country, you can't accept the lack of professionalism that was on show on the night. And I just think someone needs to really sort that crap out.
Yeah, I mean, Daz, I know for a fact that most weeks clubs are actually complaining to the FAI about certain things, etc. And the FAI are essentially telling them to get on with it. I mean, there has to be repercussions for referees making ridiculous mistakes. I mean, if we look even at the Wordsworth red last week alone against Athlone, I mean, what part of your brain is telling you that he's kicking the ball away?
It's shambolic. It's terrible. It's an embarrassment to the league in general. It's shocking to look at. And if you're someone who bashes the league because you like Man United and you watch them at home, you're going to prey on this and you're going to promote this and go, look at this. This is amateurish. Why would you watch this? Why would you accept this? It's horrible. It's very bad for the league. It's bad rep for the league. Let alone the game. Leave the game of football out of it. The referees is shocking. It's so bad. And what's worse is, there is a few very good referees and have very good games, and it's never talked about. When a referee has a good game, it is never talked about. It's never appreciated. It's never acknowledged, and it's brushed them with the same brush. It's taken it away from them who's doing very well, and I think there has to be repercussions for it. And the FAI should be coming out and making statements saying the referee got this decision wrong. He won't be officiating for 3 weeks, and it'll be embarrassing for the referee, but it'll put more pressure on him to take an extra half second in the match and say, right, what did he actually do here? And if he has to, go to his 4th official linesman, ask for his opinion. What did he do? If players are coming over to him, look, go away, I'm talking to the 4th official on the sideline. If you keep coming over, you'll have to get booked. That way you'll have time to talk to the referees, ask what happened, get his opinion, make his decision from there. But the words for a red card the other week was just shocking. Like, it was terrible. You cannot be given a red card for that. It was so obvious. He thought the ball was in, he played it back out. How can you call that as a red card? If anything, first of all, like, he should have been thinking to himself, he didn't actually intentionally kick it away, because if you did, you're going to kick it probably in front of you away to look like
it's a normal pass down the line. He doesn't even put power on the pass.
It's shocking. And as well as that, I think there'll be players in the UK that might be looking at stuff like this thinking, I don't want to be involved in a league like this where it's so amateurish. It's just bad rep for the league in general. It's bad for the FAI if they're not doing anything about it. I think as well as that, if you look at the England system, I'm not sure if many people know it or not, but they've got different levels for referees that they have to reach. They have to play like, they have to officiate in 30 some league games to jump up from like level 1 to level 2, and level 2B to level 2C or something like that. It's a pyramid that they have to go through. But this is how the referees in England climb the system. Yes, there's so many more leagues. Yes, the standard is better. But to have a proper system in place, like you could go and do a referee's course online now and be able to officiate next week. What if you're someone who only doesn't really know football? You don't understand offside or whatever. You're given your certificate of attendance and there you go out to referee. And you could be asked to do men's games now because there's a shortage of them. Like, that's not acceptable. It's not right and it shouldn't be happening. It's shambolic from the FAI. It really annoys me that they do this. Like, it's just terrible for the league and it's terrible for the players.
Yeah, training 100% has to improve. We'll move on to Tallaght Stadium and finish Shamrock Rovers 3, St. Patrick's Athletic 1. Danny Mandrew with 2 goals, Roberto Lopez and John Mountney for Pats. And this was billed as probably the biggest game of the season, Philip, in fairness, and I think it was, but I don't think the game actually, funnily enough, lived up to that. I thought I was there. The first 20 minutes was very poor from both sides. I actually couldn't believe what I was watching, if I'm honest, saying these are supposed to be the 2 best teams. Well, at the moment, the league, it wasn't even that was cagey. It was poor quality. That said, once Shamrock Rovers did get in front in the 30th minute, I thought they dominated the rest of the first half. Probably should have been 2 up. Conceded, in fairness, what was a sloppy goal to make it 1-1 at half time. You thought then, well, Pats got away with one in the first half, so maybe they can up it in the second half and come into the game. But to be fair, in the second half, I think Rovers moved it up a level, completely dominated, won a 3-1. I personally think 4-0 would have been a fair reflection on the game. From a Pats point of view, I think Steve O'Donnell got it completely wrong. I'm not going to criticise him too much because he's done a good job. Pats have done well, but he did get it wrong tactically. He played Burns and King out wide and didn't really play a striker. I mean, Robbie Benson seemed to be sometimes false 9, but sometimes an attacking midfielder, as in he didn't really know what he was supposed to be doing, which meant that Burns could be double marked by Scales on the left-hand side centre-back Grace, and the same on the right-hand side with Billy King, with Joey O'Brien and Finn, wasn't it? Yeah, Ronan Finn. So I think there was a complete collapse tactically from Pats. I think he made a big mistake, O'Donnell, not playing a focal point and let Pats play their normal game. Ironically, by the end, Pats had 3 centre forwards on the pitch. But it was just essentially hoofball up to them. But as I say, Shamrock Rovers are much the better side, to be fair, fully deserved to win. Laid down a marker and a bit of a, reality check, I think, for Pats, Philip.
Yeah, it was. And look, the way I see it is, Keith, is if I'd offered you Pat's second place at the start of the season, you'd have bit my bloody hand off. Do you know what I mean?
Even third, Philip. Even third.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know what I mean? And yeah. I have, like, I gave me a review like straight away after the match, but I suppose I've thought about it a little bit more, Keith, and I think that result kind of reflected, even if Pats hadn't got the injuries that they had and the suspensions that they had, I do think the result probably would have been pretty similar. Do you know what I mean, Keith? Just in terms of the quality.
Can I cut in there, Philip, just for a second? I'll just mention about Pat's injuries and suspensions. I think there's too much played on it because, yes, Smith is a loss. But who else? Like Shamrock Rovers were missing, to be fair, Sean Gannon and Graham Burke. I think it just shows the difference in the quality of the squads, if I'm honest with you, Philip.
Yeah, I suppose the depth as well, though, Keith. If you look at the bench, I know, Pats did have Coughlin on the bench, and I think he's still not right, Keith. Do you know what I mean? I think he would have started the game if he was right, but I just don't think it would have made that much of a difference. Do you know what I mean? Because like Pats played really well in Inchicore against us the last time we played them, but we still beat them. Do you know what I mean? And like, I just think that this showed exactly where Pats are at. I think, look, the great thing about the league this year was constant chop and change, but I don't see that happening now for the rest of the season. I think it's there for us to go and run away with. Look, I've been wrong before, but I just don't see it happening again. I think the way both Sligo and Pats are at the moment, I just don't see them being able to get another positive run of, like, say, 8 or 9 good, consistent results on the bounce, because they just keep getting hit with injury. Do you know what I mean? And the likes of Sligo with Buckley, I think it is, who keeps getting injured as well, and he's out as well, and Mahan, and it just, nothing has gone right for both sets of squads. But going back to Pats, I just think that that's where they are, Keith. And look, if I'm honest, looking at it from a third party, I think Pats have came on a big amount compared to last year. And do you know what I mean? I think if you look at what happened last year, I think we drew 0-0 with Jules. Was it at Tala? I know.
Yeah.
0-0, last year. And I said to myself, Jesus, that Pats side, that was with O'Donnell. I said, they've done all right, but I don't see them going anywhere. And I've never seen them getting as far up the table as they have this year. Whether that's down to the quality dropping from Dundalk and Bows, that's up to them. That'll
bit
show.
of both, I would suggest. Yeah, a bit of both.
Yeah, but look, I suppose, Keith, you can only play what's in front of you and beat what's in front of you. Pats have won most weeks when it comes to results. And look, it's just not going to be their year this year. But I would be optimistic for them to finish in the European spots, Keith. Let's be honest about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Daz, how did you see it overall?
Yeah, look, I think Shamrock Rovers did very, very well to beat Pats. Pats didn't have the best of games, and I think you had my studio notes there. But Danny Mandrew got 2 goals there too. He showed his quality. As much as I hate to say it, he's a good player, and he showed his quality. He got 2 more goals. I think, as far as I know, he was playing further up the field for Shamrock Rovers. Scales had a good game again. I think he was very solid throughout the game. Overall, I think your analysis of it was spot on. I did think Shamrock Rovers had more of an upper hand in the first half, in the early stages of it. That's my opinion. I think they kept possession of the ball well, didn't take any risks. They passed the sidewards when it wasn't on. They went back, they went forward. They did try and move it about, kept the ball on the ground for most of the time, which was great to see. Both sets of teams did that. But I think, look, like what Philip said, you would have bitten your hand off for Pats to be where they are this season. And they have made vast improvements. And I think if you're a Pats fan, you have to take a result like this with a pinch of salt and realise it's not going to be every week. You're going to get a bad result every now and again. And look, losing Shamrock Rovers 3-1 isn't the end of the world. Like, Shamrock Rovers realistically are going to beat most teams in this division. They are their top side. They're very good all around. They will beat more sides. And they just showed their quality against Pats, and they really just brought them to town towards the second half and just dominated overall, made most of the chances. They were kind of the most team that was on top of the game. Pats dropped off a little bit to try to defend more deep, and just wasn't working out for them. Shamrock Rovers just capitalised on it and eventually won 3-1, which was a great result for them. But look, O'Donnell's doing a fantastic job with Pats. Even if you look back in recent seasons, they were dragged into relegation fight at one stage, which no one would have predicted. So if you had told someone back then they'd be challenging near the top end in 2-3 seasons' time with Stephen O'Donnell in charge, you wouldn't have said that was going to happen. But both teams are having a great season, and look, Pats can't be feeling too bad over a result like that. And fair play to Shamrock Rovers, good result for them.
Yeah, I think, to be fair, Shamrock Rovers in the last couple of weeks, I think they've really upped it. They've started to score goals. They've been scoring at least 2 goals in most of their games, to be fair, 3 and 4 in some occasions as well. And just looking at the table here, like, the 3 points at the Pats with a game in hand. I agree with Philip. I know Sligo didn't play this week, but I can't see Sligo and Pats putting a run together now where they actually get above Rovers. I've been waiting all season for Rovers to kick on, and I knew they would, and I didn't think Pats and Sligo would go with them. I think the only team capable of possibly going with them, if they were close, would be Dundalk, because of the squad they had. If they were close, if they were in Pat's position now, Philip, like, you wouldn't say it's over, would you?
Oh, definitely not. No,
Yeah.
And especially with Perth coming back in, he's done a job. Do you know what I mean? And look, they're going through to the next round of Europe as well. I don't know. I'm kind of happy about that, Keith. I won't talk about too much, but I'll just say very briefly, I'm kind of happy that they've went through, because I think it'll give them momentum to come back into it. Because I think at one stage there this year, I was completely writing them off, and I thought it was going to go belly up, to be honest with you. But I hope that they can come back again next season and be competitive. And I think Vinny Perth's the man to do it now, looking at it over the past couple of weeks as well.
Yeah,
I think too, Keith, like what you said yourself, is something that I think we can touch on is Shamrock Rovers don't get too many injuries, but when they do, they seem to always usually cope. Whereas you look at Pats, have a few injuries, start losing. You look at Sligo, Matton, he gets injured last, smashing defending, but he's always injured. And then I think Sligo start to concede when he's not there then too. But Shamrock Rovers are missing Burke, which is a top player, and Gannon's been playing a lot against him, and it still didn't really look like they were out of place, missing 2 top players for them, it just shows the quality of the team throughout, that they can win and get results and grind out results when they don't have the starting team available, it's great to be in a position like that when you can still play. Because even if you look at Bows, if we lose George Kelly, who's going to come in? Whereas other teams don't really have that position, which it's good for them. But I think that's worth mentioning as well.
No, I agree. Like Shamrock Rovers have had as many injuries as Pats or Sligo. It's just it's highlighted more because Pats and Sligo struggle with those injuries.
Yeah.
Like Sean Hoare didn't play, for example, as well. Sean Kavanagh has been in and out as well.
Yeah.
Ferrugia has been out. As you mentioned there, Gannon. Like Mandrew basically took up Burke's position, I would argue, as well, pretty much in the team.
Yes. Yeah.
And he got the 2 goals because it was Watts and O'Neill and Towell that were doing most of the,
Watts
I would say, running.
Watts had a brilliant game.
Did he assist 3 goals?
He
Certainly 2.
assisted 3 goals. He set
all 3, wasn't it?
He put the balls through. His first touch was smashing. He was a very technically gifted player, and he's starting to really show and come into himself again this season and really show what he can do. And I think he's a smashing little player for Shamrock Rovers. He's a brilliant player, and he can do everything you need a player in his position to be able to do, and he can really play around the midfield area. But look, he got 3 assists, and that's equivalent in my head of scoring a hat-trick. That's brilliant for him.
In my opinion, he was man of the match, to be honest. But anyway, it finished Longford Town 0, Derry City 2, and a comfortable enough win here for Derry. 31 minutes, Lafferty Jr. after 82. Look, Longford, we've talked about them. They're rooted to the bottom, not looking too good for them. Derry now up to 6th, 2 points behind Drogheda all of a sudden. Can they make the top 5, do you think, Philip? I think they can, actually.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be too surprised. I think Drogheda now are going to go through another spell for a couple of weeks where they're not going to win too many games, Well, with that being fixtures going against them, and they've got a tough run the next couple of weeks, so I just see them dropping more points. But to be honest with you, Keith, I don't see why they wouldn't. Like another good result away to Longford here, and let's be honest, although Longford at the bottom of the table, it's very, very hard to get down there and get a result. Do you know what I mean? We see the top sides. Rovers had to do it in the last minute. Sligo done it 1-0 at the start of the season. Do you know what I mean? Dundalk, I'm pretty sure, did struggle down there for a bit as well, but they were obviously going through a tough stage at that point of the season. But it is tough to go down there and get a result, and the fact that they went and done it so comfortably was very impressive. I had it on the computer while I was watching the Celtic game as well last night, and just from looking at it, Keith, Longford didn't really have much in the game, to be honest with you. Like from looking at it, 1 or 2 chances is very vaguely what I remember of what they had, and Derry just seemed to retain the ball very well, and they went about their business the right way. They set up perfectly, and something, I dug out Rory there a few weeks ago on the way he set up and the way he approached the Rovers. But I think he got it spot on down here in Longford, so you have to give him credit. You know what I mean? They flawless when it came to it. Like it was a 5-star performance from them.
I mean, Daz, I know it's still early in the season in a technical sense, but it's hard to go against Longford now finishing bottom of the league, isn't it? It's difficult because it's difficult for us to come out every week, isn't it? And look at them in the table, and we actually do come out with positives, as you said, Philip. They are hard to beat, but they just haven't got the quality, do they, to stay in the Premier Division? Let's be honest about it.
No, they don't. Look, and as we try our best not to bash teams every week. Like in fairness to us, even our rival teams, we give them credit where credit's due. And we don't bash teams as channel when we can. But look, it's very hard to see a positive for Longford now, and it's so hard when you're down there to even get a result, to score a few goals and get up. And they'll be looking to try and get up the table. They're not going to get up the table because there's such a point difference. They're really rooted down there, but they dug in deep against Bows to get a draw against us, and they're playing very well against us, I have to say, and have a few occasion individual players. But as a team, I don't think they have a quality to remain in the Premier Division. They probably will go down, and I don't really see them pushing up in Division 1 then next season, although the likes of probably Shelburne and Treaty might be out of the league by then, so I might give them a slot to push back up. But look, I think they're really struggling this season, and they're going to continue to struggle. They don't really have the funds to bring anybody in, and I'm not really sure they could even bring anyone in who would really make a vast difference in the team. All they can keep doing is keep the group of players together, keep pushing on, keep trying hard, seeing what they can do. But it's looking very bad for them now, and it's very hard to come out and try and find positives for them, especially when they're not even really scoring any goals. They don't even have any goals to talk about, any player scoring for them consistently even to talk about. So it's very hard for them down there, and I have to feel any Longford fan. But then again, looking at the start of the season when they got promoted, they didn't think they were going to get promoted either. So I think that's worth mentioning too. Didn't really.
I think that was half of the issue in a way. They kind of overachieved a little bit by getting promotion in the first place.
And look, when they did that, then they hadn't really got the backing to bring anybody in to try and be competitive in the league. But they were at the start of the season, like we've highlighted, were competitive, just not getting results. But you have to really like just struggling now. Teams coming and just beating them. They know how to play against them. They know how to set up. Like what Philip said, Rory knew what to do. He knew how to set up. He knew how to play. He had a game plan. He stuck to it, got the result, and then moved on. And it's a straightforward win for them. And unfortunately for Longford, that's been the story with most teams this season. They go in, they get the result, they do the job, and they go on. And Longford are left root at the bottom.
Look, lads, brilliant stuff. Great contributions. We'll leave it there. Guys, like the video, subscribe if you're new, and hit your bell notification button so you don't miss a video. Cheers, guys.